Okay. What's your name?
Daniel Paul Sissell.
S-I-S-S-E-L?
Exactly.
When were you born?
January 31st, 1949.
So that makes you 50 years old.
I'm 50.
My wife turned 50 the other day. It wasn't too bad, was it?
I hope she's holding up better than me.
She's doing all right. Where do you live?
Now,
Yes.
I live in Friendship, Ohio, here in Scioto County.
Where are you from?
Scioto County, I was born here in Portsmouth.
What's your occupation?
I'm the County Veteran Service Officer.
And what does that entail? What do you do in that capacity?
I oversee the office. We help veterans obtain benefits, federal, state, and local, and run a van service to and from VA hospitals. Have some assistance money, if a veteran needs help. We take applications and try to help them.
Is that a government job, federal government, or veterans?
In Ohio, Ohio's one of, I think, 14 states that have a county veterans service office system. And I work for a commission that's appointed by the local common pleas judges.
I see. How much education do you have?
I have about 2 years of college, no degree.
What school did you attend?
Shawnee State.
Are you married, single, divorced, widowed, separated, all of the above, or what?
I'm divorced at the moment.
Do you have any children?
Yes, 2 daughters.
Any grandchildren?
Yep, 3.
And how about great-grandchildren? A little early there?
A little early, that stuff.
And when did you enter the service?
I was drafted in the Army August 12, 1968.
And you were drafted, you say?
Yes.
And into the Army. What branch of the Army did you go into?
Infantry, I was placed in the infantry unit.
And where did you do your basic?
Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Were you paratrooper there? I know they did a lot of that.
There was a lot of special forces. All of our drill sergeants were. I signed up for airborne, but they needed too many people in Vietnam, so I was supposed to go airborne, and they didn't let me.
You were in the infantry, but specifically, what was your MOS then?
Well, infantrymen are light weapons infantrymen, so that was my MOS. 11B-20.
11B-20?
Yeah.
And when you got out of the service, what was your rank?
E4.
And did you go overseas, Vietnam?
Yeah, I served in country Vietnam with the 25th Infantry Division.
The 25th, is that the one with the acorn, or what
The electric strawberry, looks like a little...
Electric strawberry, yeah, electric, I know.
With the lightning bolt, tropical lightning.
Electric strawberry.
Yeah.
And you were in the 25th Infantry Division.
Mm-hmm.
What battalion, or break it on down for us?
I was the 4th Battalion, 9th Infantry, 25th Infantry Division, Company D, Delta.
And were you in combat?
Yes.
Do you have decorations?
I've got a few.
What are they?
I got the Bronze Star, 3 Army Commendations for Valor, Purple Heart, and Combat Infantry Badge.
I see. Do you remember your closest friends from their name? Are you in touch with them?
No, I haven't been able to find them since, but a couple of my buddies were Bob Kalanoff and a guy named Bill Reinhardt.
Where were they from?
Iowa.
They came back, they're alive as far as you know.
Yeah, they're not in the book. I left that unit and was transferred before they did. So
I see. Where did you go?
I went to Quin Yon for about the last 4 months of my tour in Vietnam.
How long were you in Vietnam?
1 year.
Were you wounded?
Yes.
You ever wounded? Do you have the Purple Heart?
Yes.
And when you left that division, what unit did you go to?
I went with the 51st Infantry Company, and it was attached to the 93rd MP Battalion in Quin Yon.
Did you become an MP? Or?
No, I wore the patch, but I was with the 25th, and normally in an infantry unit, I was on the Cambodian border, and normally you didn't get out of those units. The only way you got out was being wounded or killed, or you got your year in, got to leave. But they were forming an infantry company to reinforce this MP battalion, and they were looking for guys that had 6 months or more in country and had been wounded. So I was very fortunate. I was one of them chosen out of our battalion, me and one other guy.
When did you get to Vietnam? What was the date?
January 15, 69.
And when did you leave?
About January 14, 69, 1 year later. Or 70, I'm sorry, 1970.
Were any of your friends over there killed?
Yeah, I had a couple, there was a couple guys killed.
Where were you wounded? How were you wounded? What's the story of that?
Well, on June 5th, 1969, we were, Charlie Company was in contact with a NBA regiment, and we went out to relieve them. And I was walking flank, and it was real heavy jungle, so they had about 6 of us on point, and we just went in until we made contact with the NBA and started a firefight. I was wounded with hand grenades, and later in the day I got some RPG shrapnel, rocket-propelled grenade. It's kind of their version of our bazooka.
Did they have to evacuate you then? Or?
Yeah, I was flown out by medevac helicopter, along with 11 other guys.
What was the longest period of time that you were in combat?
We, probably 3 days. 3 days at a time.
Was this particular unit, the 25th, was it in combat a lot?
On the Cambodian border, it was the main infiltration route. When the NBA conquered Saigon, that's the route they came from Cambodia. And of course, we couldn't go into Cambodia. We chased them to the border, and they had large camps in Cambodia across the border, and they would slip in. So we worked as small units a lot. We pulled a lot of ambushes where there was maybe 7 to 15 of us. So the company I was with was like 120 men, but we rarely worked as a company. We were split up.
Isn't that rather small? Is a company usually about 160 or 80 or something like that?
Yeah, we never could keep up to full strength. We kept losing people.
Were you there in 70, you say, or you came back in the 60s?
I came back in 70, January 70.
January 70. So that was before we went into Cambodia.
Yeah. In fact, I'm not sure if my unit was a part of that or not, but it was right in the Parrot's Beak.
Parrot's Beak?
Yeah, they called it where Cambodia kind of came into Vietnam there a little bit, and that was right in the area where my unit was.
Is there an area there called An Loc?
Yeah.
Town?
There is, but I wasn't there. It's part of the Iron Triangle, they called it. I think it was Cu Chi, Tay Ninh, and An Loc. Made a triangle.
You don't have to answer any of this if you don't want to. Did you have to shoot anybody?
Yeah.
What did you feel about that?
I still don't like it. It still bothers me.
Still think about that?
Yeah, June 5th, when we came in contact there, and I was up on point, we were going in very quiet. They were dug in, and we were very lucky they didn't hear us coming up. And we got into their bunker lines, and a young kid, looked like 14, 15, stepped out from by a tree and just directly in front of me and kind of stared at me, and I stared at him for a second.
Did you have his weapon?
No, he didn't, but we were so keyed up that I just shot him.
And that's something you think about. Let me ask you this, did you bring back anything from there that Vietnam, any souvenirs?
Oh, I've got a few things, just a
Got on
flag or
home?
two. Yeah.
You have a flag? A VC flag?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Viet Cong with the red star.
Okay. What did you think about, and the rest of the guys in the unit think about what was going on in the United States at the time? You were over there in peril. What was going on with you guys?
As I recall, I mean, what really aggravated us is we didn't like the anti-war people much. Most of the guys, by the time we were there, we were fed up with the war, but what we wanted them to do was let us go north into North Vietnam. We would go out, like the day when I was wounded, we would fight for 2 or 3 days and lose good people. And then at the end of all of it, the NBA would be allowed to withdraw into Cambodia. And there was no difference. We'd face that same unit after they resupplied and got new men and equipment. and sooner or later we'd fight them again, you know, for the same ground. So it got pretty frustrating. We would get aggravated, and you know, we'd like to have, even though it would have been dangerous, we'd like to have been allowed to go to the north and take care of it and get out of there, you know, for once.
Did you feel that the enemy was a good fighter?
Yeah, they were excellent.
Did you fight the VC any?
In fact, I think the boy that I shot was a Viet Cong. That's why he may not have had a weapon. They used the Viet Cong locally as guides and for just local reference, but you know, for the NBA that moved in from the north.
Okay. What's the scariest thing that ever happened to you?
Probably that day. We was pinned down for quite a while. After I shot that kid, then they shot a couple of our guys, and then we realized we were in their bunkers. So we fought there for 2 or 3 hours, and you know, a lot of things going on, and nobody had any cover. And it was pretty bad. I was also bitten by a rat one time when I was sleeping. That's
bitten by a rat.
Yeah.
Did you get a Purple Heart for that?
No, no. Actually, I thought it was a snake at first. I was asleep, and this thing nailed me on the finger, and I just jumped up and ran out of this bunker and thought, sure, a snake had got me, and if so, I'd probably be dead in a little bit. But when I didn't die, we finally deduced it must have been a rat.
Well, what was the funniest thing that ever happened to you there?
Oh, gosh. Maybe the rat story, too.
Did you like the Army?
I liked representing my country in uniform. I didn't like the Army the way it ran, but I liked the feeling that I was wearing a uniform that others before me had worn.
What was it like being over there in garrison, back at base?
Well, we never really, we had a rear, we called it, but we didn't get back there much. The rear we had, though, was like a Dodge City almost, just some shacks and board, everybody carrying weapons, and, it was further back in Saigon and stuff, it was real nice. A lot of guys that got duty in Saigon and wanted to stay.
Where'd you take your R&R?
Bangkok or Thailand.
Is there any story you'd like to tell about Bangkok? Remember, your great-great-great-grandchildren are going to be watching this in the year 2050. It was such a beautiful city, and just being able to sleep on sheets. Were the women beautiful?
They were. Yes, they were. Tiny but beautiful.
Yeah. What did you think about combat? Was it scary and exciting at the same time?
It was. I liked ambushes, and at that age it was...
How old were you then?
19.
19.
And I was with some buddies of mine, and it was, I have to say, I liked it and I hated it. It really, when people got killed, it was bad. But a successful ambush was something, was really something exciting. And you develop a certain amount of prowess as a unit. And
Prowess.
Being able to fight at night and be successful, and to beat the NBA at their own game. That's not easy to do. So
did you beat them often?
We usually...
Was victory a relative term then? It was almost meaningless in a sense.
I think as far as ground taken, there was none. So, normally in a war you would, rate it on whether you took a place, and now that was free. In Vietnam, it was we had a little village we went through every morning called Godaha, and I always laugh and say we liberated it every morning. And
yeah.
Viet Cong took it back that night.
Is that true?
Yeah.
They probably came back in the evening?
Literally. Body count is what we, in Vietnam, of course everybody knows that's how you rated progress or whether you did well. A lot of guys that bother us too, because it simply boiled down to how many you killed. And the whole war was fought on those grounds. they felt if we just killed enough of them, they would give up and withdraw or sue for peace. And of course, it never happened.
Did the Army change you?
Yeah.
Did Vietnam change you, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, I think for the most part, to the good.
To the good?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Well, I think just in experience and understanding and the hardships, being able to be with buddies of mine and facing some things, and it makes you closer to people than you ever would have been. And just being a veteran, I enjoyed it.
Is there anything you'd like to say to your family or your people that are going to come after you, watch this film?
Well, I think I always wonder about how history will treat us who fought in Vietnam, when it's the first war we lost. And the only thing that I'd like to impress is the people that I served with are some of the best people I've ever met. They're the most patriotic, and the ones living and dead, they fought hard. And unfortunately, probably never get any credit, like they should.
Did you, or sometimes I've read talk or I've read things about where the American fighting soldier at that time was not up to par with prior veterans of World War II or Korea. What would you say?
I'd probably differ. I think there was a certain amount in Vietnam of there not being a clear objective. So, we fought for each other, and we fought out of pride. Whether we was fighting for our country or not was was a little more ambiguous. So I think people fight harder when they have more that they're fighting for, and we weren't allowed that somehow. So
was there a morale problem ever?
There was a lot of time. The unit I was in, there didn't seem to be, but I think a lot of units did, simply because of that, because this is ridiculous. There's people being killed, and I'm being asked to give a supreme sacrifice for something that politicians aren't willing to sacrifice anything for. So there was some of that, but we were all young men, and the NBA were feared and respected, but we also wanted to have a good showing too, and so we tried our best. We had some good officers. I was fortunate. Both our company commanders were West Point while I was there, and so the unit I was with was a pretty good unit.
When were you discharged or separated?
August 11, 1970, in Fort Hood, Texas.
Did you go into a reserve unit? Or
No.
You didn't have to do a reserve unit?
No. I never called.
On the day you were discharged, where did you go?
After I was discharged?
That minute.
Oh, where did I go?
What did you do?
Oh, I had to stand in line. I was the last man in a long line. And I just thought, well, this will be the last time the Army can do this to me.
And then where did you go?
I went home. I was married. I got married when I came home from leave, and so my wife was there, and we packed up our stuff and headed for Ohio.
Was she from Ohio?
Yes, she's from here.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, really.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.